Nigeria stands still for former President Muhammadu Buhari's final sleep in his country home, Daura. Plus, tributes pour in for the exemplary life of the icon Muhammadu Buhari.
Can never forget him or continue to pray for him.
May Almighty Allah forgive all his shortcomings, grant him Jannah.
There are so many adjectives you can use to describe Buhari, but truly, he is a leader whose time has come, and he has led this country very, very well.
Hello and welcome to the Network News on this National Day of Mourning. I am Olajide Bello. Benny Adams will be on our business news segment, while Bade Adele will be keeping us up to speed with happenings from the world of sport. Remember, you can watch this broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen. Nigeria's immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari has been buried in his hometown Daura in Katsina State after both military and Islamic rites for a person of his status. The burial attracted personalities and people from all walks of life as they converged on the ancient city to pay last respect to a man popularly referred to as the People's General. Ruth Aguele reports.
From the emotions, griefs and sorrows to the pains and miseries freely expressed during the burial rites in Daura, it was obvious that the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, means a lot to the people. Hundreds of people lined up along the Katsina-Daura road to bid farewell. The short trip from the helipad to the late president's residence took a long time due to the crowd. Thousands others from across the world were waiting in Daura. The funeral prayer at the helipad was led by the chief imam of Daura, Sheikh Hassan Yusuf. After military rites that includes citation, folding of the national flag and the gun salutes. Late Muhammadu Buhari was interred. Sheikh Hassan resumed duty as the two-time president and head of state was lowered into the earth, with his son Yusuf leading the process. Some of the dignitaries who attended the burial expressed sadness over the demise of the former president, whom they say has done a lot for Nigeria in particular and Africa at large. The family of the late president, who returned from London with his body today, is receiving more condolences ahead of the 3rd and 7 days Fidel prayers. Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
And meanwhile, the remains of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari have been laid to rest in accordance with Islamic rites. The late president was buried at his residence in Daura, Katsina State. Musa Babali reports that President Bola Tinubu and other dignitaries from within and outside the country received the remains of the late former president at the Umar Musa Yaradua International Airport, Katsina.
The remains of the former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari arrived at the Umar Musa Yaradua International Airport, Katsina State at 1 p.m. local time. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who has been in the United Kingdom since the announcement of the former president's passing, accompanied the remains. In a solemn reception at the airport, President Bola Tinubu personally received the body. First Lady Remi Tinubu was also present, offering condolences to the former First Lady Aisha Buhari. And relatives of the late former president were also around, but in tears and grief. Dignitaries, including current and former members of the Federal Executive Council, former Vice Presidents Emio Shibaju and Atiku Abubakar, and several state governors gathered to pay their last respects. Following the airport ceremony, the remains were escorted 88 kilometers to Daura, the late president's hometown. Mourners and sympathizers lined the Katsina Daura road, offering their final respect to the late leader. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Now with me in the studio is a Buharist, one of the leaders of the Buhari Media Organization, BMO, Ni Akinshiju. You're welcome to the Network News.
Thanks so much for having me.
And joining me virtually is Senator Ita Inang, also to talk on the legacies of the icon we celebrate today. Senator, good evening, and you're welcome. Senator Inang, if you can hear me, you're welcome to the Network News. All right, let me start with Niyi Akinshiju. You worked closely with Buhari promoting his ideals and policies. What was the attraction for someone like you to support the late former president?
Well, I think in simple terms, the fact that I saw in the late People's General, as I love to call him, the simplicity of humanity. You know, despite the array of high public offices that he had occupied, even as president, he still came across as a very moderate, modest person. It's not just about coming across. In conduct and in his interaction with people, you saw that simplicity in him. And of course, I think what even motivated me more was his love for Nigeria. I saw clearly a man that had passion for Nigeria, for this country, that had passion for the very poor, vulnerable of this country, and went out of his way, perhaps on a limbs, to see how he could address the needs and the aspiration of the Nigerian poor. And to a large extent, I also saw a man that carries the pride, of this country wherever he went to. He wanted to be seen as a Nigerian, and not just as a Nigerian, as a true Nigerian. And again, perhaps more convincingly, was the fact that I came away believing that this was a man of conviction. And at that time, you don't get to see a person that became so consistent in his desire to see a better Nigeria, either as a military ruler or as a civilian, democratically elected president.
All right, many thanks, Niyi Akinshiju. Now, over to Senator Ita Inang. Senator, as okay, we're having some technical issues with Senator Ita Inang there. Okay, Niyi Akinshiju, Along with your team, including Cassidy Madueke, you promoted the policies of the Buhari administration. How would you describe the impact on the socio-economic growth of Nigeria?
Coming into 2015, May 29, 2015, when Muhammadu Buhari was sworn into office, we saw a desire, by his declaration that I'm for everybody and for nobody, as a philosophical declaration of his character when he gets into office. And to a large extent, we saw that played out. And of course, going forward, we saw how he contended, with the first wave of economic limitations. Unfortunately, the Buhari, that we all know, was that this was a man that was driven by providing, for Nigerians, providing infrastructure especially. But unfortunately, the first limitation or the first challenge of that government was pervasive fall in the price of crude oil. Of course, also combined with the bombing campaigns by the then Niger Delta militants that led to a very abrasive situation for the economy, where revenue was limited and there was little apparently to do in terms of infrastructural growth. But again, we saw how we went into that recession, because again, Nigeria inherited a Nigerian treasury that was more or less empty. And of course, confronted with these new challenges, there was a need to have a more pragmatic approach. When we got into that recession, not many people thought that we'll get out of that recession as early as possible. But I think with a combination of pragmatism, a dedication, of course, a focused personality and a discipline, he was able to get us out of that recession. And for me, that was a major milestone for that economy. Of course, from 2017, we started seeing an economy in growth, and actually an economy in flight, moving from -0 to a high of 2.8 by 2019. Okay. When we thought that we will see more momentous movements, in the economy, of course, the COVID-19 thing struck, and that again led to another level cycle of recession. Again, despite our fiscal limitation as a country, Nigeria is credited to be one of the first countries, of the world to exit recession induced by the COVID-19 pandemic. So, and despite all this, we still had reference infrastructural projects, that we still talk about today. For instance, the long-delayed second Niger Bridge was delivered,
Okay, Niyi Akishiju, let's quickly head over to Senator Itainang. We've established contacts with him. Good evening, Senator. As a former senior special assistant to the President on National Assembly matters, how would you describe the synergy between the executive and the legislature?
It was tough, but it was successful, because President Muhammadu Buhari, as he then was, may his soul rest in perfect peace, applied the best of diplomacy and applied the best of tact and applied the most matured of the diplomacy to balance what the powers of the executive and the powers of the legislature, which created a privilege for both. That is how we managed. It was a very tough one, very tough. And in fact, I thank God that I had the privilege of managing in the entire life of this country the hardest legislative executive relations in the country, because we had an executive which came by election. We had a legislature which emerged against the run of play, against the desires and wishes of the party, and of course the government. And so from the beginning, it was tough, it was difficult. And in fact, I'm sure the public would remember when, as part of the way perhaps the legislature wanted to get at the executive, they said that the budget was missing and that I stole the budget, And I mean, that was fun though. And it was very tough. And so it was difficult to get the budget passed, but we applied the best of diplomacy. Myself, my colleague, Senator Kawu now, the Minister of Budget and Planning, Senator Udoma, and under the leadership of the late Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, we did our best under his able guidance.
Okay, Senator, what was the impact of the Buhari administration in the Niger Delta region as a special advisor handling that portfolio?
Part of the greatest of the impact was engagement with the militants. One. Second was the effort we made to ensure that the loss of oil through the illegal refining process were curtailed, curbed, and we engaged with the illegal refiners and then started the process of modular refining, where you engage with the players in the industry. And again, a lot of military might was applied, but it was also discovered that the men in uniform who were engaged, that there were some level of compromise. And so it was concluded that this alone will not solve the problem, and it was community engagement that was applied effectively. And that's when and how the conclusion of the Petroleum Industry Act and all other factors came into play, where roles were given to the communities in the oil producing and the oil refining process. He solidified the presidential amnesty program, gave a lot of attention to the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, gave a lot of attention to the Niger Delta Development Commission, and my office as advisor, we worked to ensure that there was synergy between all these agencies for the purpose of creating an economic environment that brought revenue to the country.
All right, many thanks, Senator. Very quickly now, let's come back to Nia Kishiju. You mentioned earlier parts of the sterling qualities of President Muhammadu Buhari to include simplicity, modesty, and of course, someone that has passion for Nigeria. So from these qualities, what can be the take-home for the military and politicians alike? Very quickly.
I was trying to conclude with the fact that despite the paucity of fund, his achievement, accomplishment in the area of infrastructure, were quite notable. To today, we still have the Lagos-Ibadan railway line. We have the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, amongst others. It was reputed to have rehabilitated or reconstructed about 12,000 kilometers of roads out of the 35,000 kilometers of road belonging in the purview of the federal government, and we also saw how, in a large way, he deliberately, consciously intervened in the area of social investment, how people brought back the idea of cash transfer, trader money, and all manners of efforts, concepts to try as much as possible to energize the Nigerian poor.
All right, many thanks, Nia Kishiju. In one sentence, Senator, what can be the take-home for the military and politicians from the sterling qualities of the late President Muhammadu Buhari? Very quickly.
One of the sterling qualities of President Buhari of blessed memory is his honesty, his dedication, his passion for humanity, and his commitment to public service. And one thing we've always, in my presentations, considered as one of the greatest sins of Buhari, President Buhari, is that he gave a lot of trust to any person that he gives authority. and it gives responsibility. And even when this, and some people capitalized on it and messed up the assignment that they were given. But President Buhari gave a lot of trust and latitude to all the persons whom he engaged, and he gave his all. The greatest of it, what I will want to talk about him, is his personal compassion for humanity, his feeling about the next person, particularly the poor, and the feeling that every person should have what to eat daily, and that nobody should be too richer than the other to make the other hungry.
Many thanks.
And please permit me to use this opportunity to thank the entire country, appreciate His Excellency President Tinubu, the entire cabinet of the APC administration for the honor they have shown the late former president. May God rest his soul.
All right, many thanks, Senator Ita Inang, and of course, Ni Akishiju, for your contributions on the network news.
Thanks for having me.
You're watching the network news. More reports when we return. Do stay with us. Thanks for being there. Let's now join Abdullahi Mustafa at the country home of the late President Buhari to give us updates on the mood and, of course, plans for the three-day prayers tomorrow. Abdullahi.
Thank you, Olajide. The town of Daura remained in a state of mourning. The lively atmosphere turned gloomy over the demise of the former president. He was just this evening laid to rest here inside the courtyard of his residence in Daura. And so for now, preparations are ongoing for the third day without prayer, which is going to take place here inside the residence. And Vice President Kashim Shettima is expected to represent his principal, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is right now in Katsina, just purposely for this prayer, which is taking place tomorrow. And Governor of Katsina State and other neighboring states are also expected to attend. There are also key government officials, ministers, and former cabinet members. They are also expected to attend. Most family members are here inside the residence mourning because they came along with the remains of the late leader from London, where he passed away. So far, most of the guests have left for their various accommodations in Daura, Katsina and Kanu, and early in the morning they will be back here for the prayers, third day prayer in honor for the repose of the soul of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who was laid to rest this afternoon in Daura. And people of the, although as I told you earlier, the lively atmosphere turned gloomy, but they are very happy that their father and son was honored by the president. We were happy that President Bola Tinubu came. He joined the crowd inside the residence where he was being laid to rest. So they were very happy. So this is what is happening now. Tomorrow in the morning, the prayers will take place inside the residence. So far, this is what is happening there.
Many times, Abdullahi Mustafa, it must have been an exhaustive day for you out there. Many thanks for your input. Fond memories do remain of a patriot, nationalist and humanist who gave his all to the country he loved, both as a military officer and as a civilian leader. The condolences are still pouring in from dignitaries from the departed former Muhammadu Buhari. Abubakar Kwanga compiles some of the messages for NTA News.
Tributes, the Ministry of Defense and Nigerian Armed Forces expressed profound sorrow on the demise of the former President Muhammadu Buhari. The Minister of State Defense Bello Muhammad says the late former president served with distinction in the Nigerian military, and his contributions made him a pivotal figure in Nigeria's modern political landscape, and his legacy of honor and unwavering national service will forever be etched in the annal of Nigerians' history. Chairman Nigeria's in Diaspora Commission Abike Dabire Erewa also describes Buhari's passing as an end of an era marked by service, discipline, and patriotic dedication to Nigeria. She recalls the late president's efforts in repositioning Nigeria on the global stage, strengthening foreign relations, and promoting the active engagement of Nigerians in diaspora in national growth and development. She has that Buhari's support for the establishment of NIDCOM in 2019 demonstrated his deep appreciation for the Nigerian diaspora and his belief in their capacity to contribute meaningfully to the nation, she said. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang also receives the news of Buhari's passing with profound sorrow. In a statement, the governor says Buhari's demise has deprived the nation of its wealth of experience in pursuit of peace, unity, and stability. He urges the bereaved family to find comfort in the late president's enduring legacies. Meanwhile, Zamfara State Governor Daura Lawal also described the death of the former president as a sorrowful moment for the country, saying it is a touching moment for all Nigerians. The governor, on behalf of the state and people of Zamfara State, extends heartfelt condolences to the family of the late former president and prayed Allah to forgive his shortcomings and grant him befitting place in Al-Jannatul Firdaus. Also, the Nigerian Labour Congress says Buhari gave his best to a country he strongly felt was in a state of disrepair, first as a young military general and second as a conciliatory civilian president with a fatherly disposition. NSC President Joseph Ajero says workers will remember him most for ensuring that no worker was laid off, not even during the COVID-19 pandemic, and giving facilities to state governments to clear backlogs of salaries and pensions, as well as to enable them regularly pay salaries. He condoled with the government and people of Katsina State, as well as Buhari's family, on the loss and prayed Allah to grant Buhari eternal rest. Similarly, the Director General and CEO, Michael Imodu National Institute for Labour Studies, Ilorin, Isa Aremu, says the late statesman's progressive labour-friendly policies and historic posthumous recognition of Chief Moshood Abiola as the winner of the June 12, 1993 election constitute its enduring legacies. He listed what the improved 2019 Minimum Wage Act from 18,000 to 30,000, non-retrenchment of jobs despite economic recessions and the COVID-19 pandemic, approval of pay rise for police officers, 1,000 jobs in each of the 774 local government areas, and commitment to lift 100 million out of poverty in 10 years, among many other landmark labor achievements. Aremu also applauded President Bola Tinubu for consolidating on the progressive tradition of the APC-led Buhari progressive labor policies in the last 2 years, with renewed hope agenda that has also commendably raised minimum wage to unprecedented 70,000 naira, with a 758 billion naira bond to settle long-standing pension liabilities. Meanwhile, Alumni Association of National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, also conveyed its condolences on Buhari's passing. ANI President Ambassador Emmanuel Obi Okafor described President Buhari as an embodiment of integrity, accountability, and selfless leadership, praying for the peaceful repose of the late president. Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
And world leaders are paying glowing tribute to former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died in London at the age of 82. Charles Arthur compiled some of the outpouring condolences from within and outside Africa.
Sierra Leone's president and current chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Julius Maada Bio, in a statement on X, paid his tribute, saying, "On behalf of the people of the Republic of Sierra Leone, I want to express our heartfelt condolences to the family of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the people of Nigeria during this incredibly difficult time." For President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari's leadership brought the two nations closer together He said, "As South Africa, we stand with the nation of Nigeria in your mourning," saying he led Nigeria as a patriotic and championed not only the best attributes of his nation during his leadership, but of the future that awaited his great country. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed expressed his condolences over the death of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. He said, "On behalf of the government of people of Ethiopia, I extend sincere condolences to the family of former President Muhammadu Buhari and the people and government of Nigeria. Our thoughts are with you during this time of mourning." President Samia Suluhu of Tanzania said she is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She said, "On behalf of the government and the people of the United Republic of Tanzania, I convey our heartfelt condolences." She honored Buhari's dedication to peace and development across Africa. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep sorrow over the death of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. He recalls their legacy of friendship and diplomacy, describing him as a statesman whose legacy of diplomacy and commitment to bilateral ties will be fondly remembered. The government of the People's Republic of China, in a statement on X, said, "Our deepest condolences to the people of Nigeria on the passing of Muhammadu Buhari, former president of Nigeria." The statement says, "We mourn a resolute leader whose unwavering dedication to Nigeria's unity and enduring legacy." The U.S. also extends its sympathies to the Nigerian leader while acknowledging Buhari's contributions to the nation's democratic development. The American embassy in Nigeria described the former president as a leader defined by service and discipline. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
As Nigerians bid farewell to one of its astute leaders and the immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari, chieftains of the All Progressives Congress say the former democratic leader will be remembered for unblemished records in service to God and humanity. Political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga reports.
8 years as democratically elected Nigerian president on the platform of the governing All Progressives Congress APC and many decades of national service to the sovereign state of Nigeria, former late President Muhammadu Buhari was a towering political figure and a simple and admirable character who commanded an organic followership in the annal of Nigerian political history. Chieftains of the governing All Progressives Congress say he was a true definition of humility and unquestionable integrity who believed in the unity of Nigeria and fought for its survival, damning negative distractions.
That honesty and integrity. You can see the world leaders today, from Obama to all these president of China, all of them, they are talking about integrity of President Muhammadu Buhari. I think it's something. And that's what we want all our leaders to emulate.
Who govern this country with integrity, with transparency, and was never recorded anywhere to be corrupt in all his service to this country.
The appeal to contemporary leaders to emulate the late president and consolidate on his legacy projects which are visible and impactful and confront common challenges of security, economy, and social well-being that now of Nigeria. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Another break beckons. The news continues in a moment. Do stay with us. Thanks for being there. The Jigawa State Executive Council has held a solemn prayer session in honor of Nigeria's late former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away on Sunday at a central London hospital. Muhammad Musa Askira reports.
It was a moment of sober reflections inside the Jigawa State Government House. Heads bowed, voices low and hearts heavy as members of the State Executive Council offered special prayers for the repose of the soul of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Governor Umar Namadi, visibly moved by the occasion, said the prayers were a mark of honor for a man who dedicated his life to the unity, progress and economic growth of the country. Leading the prayers, the special assistant to the governor on religious affairs, Malam Mujtaba Muhammad Yakubu, invoked Allah's mercy, asking for forgiveness of the late president's shortcomings and eternal peace for his soul.
So it is important at this point we stop the council and ask for a prayer over him. May Allah bless him, may Allah accept him, and may Allah reward him to the judge of the dose. So I ask the SA to support to offer prayer for the person of the soul of General Muhammad.
Thereafter, Governor Umar Namadi led a state delegation to Daura, Katsina State for the funeral prayer, joining thousands of Nigerians who bade farewell to the nation's former leader. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Aligning with the mood of the nation, the All Progressives Congress APC Nasarawa State has held a special prayer session for late former President Muhammadu Buhari, eulogizing his legacy of morality in public service. Aliu Tijani reports.
In a solemn moment, the State Working Committee members of the APC in Nasarawa State, party members, Christian and Islamic clerics intercede for the repose of the soul of late former President Muhammadu Buhari. His administration legacy projects in Nasarawa State, which include dualization of Kefi, Akwanga Lafia Makodi Road, construction of power substation, completion of local Iweto Bridge and Federal Secretariat in Lafia, as well as the establishment of Federal College of Education Technical, Kiana, among others, are life-changing infrastructure. APC says the late Nigerian leader will be remembered for by the people in the state.
Buhari came with Nasarawa State on the table and he was made the president. So we can never forget him. We'll continue to pray for him. And as all the ulamas have said, that he himself asks for forgiveness. It is left for you. Allah has already, by the grace of God, forgiven him. So we'll continue to pray for his soul.
With Nasarawa State regarded as his second home, the party acknowledges his virtues of discipline, humility and incorruptibility, which he brought to bear in politics and governance. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
And the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari is a monumental loss to Nigeria, as his virtues of integrity, tolerance and patriotism stood out in the Committee of Nations. This is the view of some personalities in Jos. Bilkisu Nuhu has details.
When the news of the death of the former president broke Sunday afternoon in London, United Kingdom, Nigerians received the news with great shock and sadness. On the plateau, some residents expressed great sadness, saying the country has lost one of its great leaders, having served as military head of state in 1984 to 1985 and as democratically elected president from 2015 to 2023.
The man was a patriot to the core. He put his life as an army officer for the unity of Nigeria, and when he came back as a civilian president, he made sure that we lived in peace with one another.
The death of His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, came to us as a shock, but our prayers are with him. May Almighty Allah forgive all his shortcomings, grant him Jannah.
They recount with nostalgia how he stood firm through challenging times, promoted discipline in public service, and became the champion in fighting corruption not only in Nigeria, but across the African region.
So let us do things that are good, things that will make us as patriots in this country, so that we leave a legacy for those who will follow us behind.
While praying to God to grant him eternal rest, they urge Nigerians to also pray for the family and emulate his legacies. In Jos, Bilkisu Nuhu, NTA News.
And away from national reflections and tributes, as the world embraces smarter ways of working, the Nigerian Television Authority NTA is taking steps to go paperless ahead of the federal government's December 2025 deadline. In a collaborative spirit, a team from the government's ICT infrastructure powerhouse, Galaxy Backbone, led by the managing director, visited NTA headquarters to explore broader areas of partnership that will strengthen digital operations. Chimdima Ndubisi will tell us more.
In an era where digital technology is reshaping communication, two major players, the Nigerian Television Authority and Galaxy Backbone, are strengthening ties to drive smarter public service delivery. Previous collaboration is what is facilitating seamless use of Galaxy Backbone's ICT services in the NTA. From news production to program content delivery, the synergy is already boosting efficiency. The two agencies are taking it a notch higher to achieve full digital transformation. The Director General of the NTA is enthusiastic, describing the partnership as a boost for the authority's digital-first agenda.
Your team and ours should be able to meet within no time, maybe start meeting from this week, to see how the two can collaborate and see that we have these paperless matters solved. And I'm glad that you are also offering training. On our own side, I think you can as well leverage on the various services too that we offer.
The managing director of Galaxy Backbone fondly recalls growing up on NTA's news and programs hallmark of credibility that continues to shine in an age riddled with misinformation and fake news.
The whole of government needs to be digitized. Government has provided infrastructure in Galaxy Backbone to make that possible. And we want to support all agencies that are ready to digitize. One of the issues we have with slow internet is because of what government subscribes to. Now, government has a cap on what it can pay for. So usually what we tell agencies, if you want more, then we could give you times 1,000 of what government says we should give you, as long as you're able to supplement what the government is paying.
The agreement to work together is seen as a shared vision for innovation, integrity, and impact. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Now let's do some business with Benny Adams. Benny.
Thank you, Olajide. And now talking national legacies. Nigeria is set to commence processing of 1.6 million tons per annum of lithium, tin and tantalite by August 2025. This was revealed to delegates of the ongoing African Natural Resources Energy Investment Summit hosted by the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development in Abuja. The delegates, whom were taken on a tour of the Asba and Wisdom lithium plants, commended Nigeria's strides in minerals processing.
Before we are exporting the raw material to China, so when Mr. President came into power, he now said no, they don't want us to be exporting raw material, they want us to be adding value. So the Honorable Minister of Solid Minerals, Dr. Henry Oladeleke, make sure that we achieve all this you see here.
As a government, we provide all the necessary environment, for smooth takeoff and for business to thrive.
It's a shift from exporting our raw ore into some processed products. This, for me, is a conversation we're having in the entire continent, and this brings us to Abuja this time.
This wonderful site of producing lithium, it's one of those few sites that are producing lithium at such capacity.
Now, from solid minerals to energy, Nigeria's Bonilite crude remains highly sought after and selling at $78.72 at a time oil prices fall slightly after U.S. President Donald Trump's lengthy 50-day deadline for Russia to end the Ukraine war and avoid sanctions. Brent sold for $68.71, while the West Texas Intermediate crude sold for $66.52. Let's now see prices of other commodities around the globe. Okay, this is it at this point. It's time to take another break. Do stay with us.
Glad to know you're still there. Over now to Badi Adile for sport updates. Badi.
Many thanks, Olajide. Let's let you know that the president of the Confederation of African Football, Patrice Motsepe, has expressed deep sorrow over the death of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. He extended his condolences to Buhari's family, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Nigeria Football Federation, and the people of Nigeria. Similarly, Chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, has reflected on the former president's lifelong dedication to national development, saying his belief in youth empowerment and national unity inspired many, including those in the sports sector. Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olopade, described Buhari's contributions as timeless, saying his support for sports as a platform for social cohesion and national pride was unwavering. In a related development, the president of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, Habu Gumel, says the body is mourning the passing of the former president, the committee's grand patron, across 3 separate tenures. The NOC fondly recalls his leadership during what it described as a glorious era for Nigerian sports. A key highlight was Nigeria's historic victory at the inaugural FIFA Kodak Under-16 World Cup.